NutritionFacts.org. Yeah, that fills me with so much confidence.
A summary of studies found no acute effects of cell phone radiation like nausea, headaches, dizziness, fatigue.
And basic physics says it's impossible. The waves are just too big to have any sort of effect like that. It's a bit like trying to cut a piece of paper with a pair of scissors that have a blade edge 130 miles wide. How is it even possible?
But they were just looking at the short-term effects, not considering any of the data on the potential long-term effects.
What about basic physics? Can we consider that?
I've explored the studies on brain tumors and on the effects of the auditory nerve in the ear, but that's not all there is on the side of your head. There's your brain, your ear, and your parotid gland, the big salivary gland right next to your ear. About 1 in 1,000 people develop salivary gland cancer in their lifetime. So the question is, does cell phone use increase the chances of parotid gland tumor development?
No.
Well, if you have 100 people drool into a test tube, the saliva of those who use a cell phone more than an hour a day does appear to have significantly less antioxidant capacity than those who talk less.
Which is the sort of thing that's bound to happen if you use such a small sample size. And let me ask you this. Why the parotid gland specifically instead of all the other stuff in that area? This sounds like p-hacking to me. You look at all of those, and that gland is the one where the statistical noise makes it appear to correlate with cell phone usage.
So considering the major protective role of antioxidants to protect against free radical-induced DNA damage that can lead to cancer,
this is why you shouldn't listen to nutritional pseudoscience. I hate to break it to you, but antioxidants, while important, are nothing like morons like this hype them up to be. When we burn food for energy, we create oxygen-free radicals known as reactive oxygen species, or ROS. Basically, they have oxygen with an extra electron which can react with other molecules, breaking their chemical bonds. Antioxidants react with ROS to produce benign molecules. There was some preliminary science in the 1990s that ROS could contribute to cell death, Alzheimer's, even the aging process itself. But before scientists had a chance to follow up on it, the multi-billion-dollar-a-year supplement industry, with the gleeful help of useful idiots like this moron, hyped them up big time. The problem is, scientists soon discovered that ROS play a lot of positive roles too, including the destruction of cancerous cells. They're also a signal for cells to boost up their own natural protection. So what we actually need is a balance between ROS and antioxidants. And guess what? Evolution already gives us that balance without us having to supplement anything. As long as we get enough of the exogenous antioxidants like vitamin C and vitamin E, we're fine. There is no rationale in taking large doses, and that could actually be harmful. The takeaway from all of this is that when he says we need antioxidants to prevent against cancer, antioxidants actually destroy the ROS that can fight cancer. Already we see that he does not know what he's talking about.
This could be a potential route by which cell phone increases salivary tumor risk.
No, it couldn't.
This study is a little more convincing.
It would have to be.
They found that saliva taken from the salivary gland on the side of the head they were using the phone on had higher levels of inflammatory markers compared to saliva taken from the same person, but just from the non-phone side of their head.
In only 83 subjects. In Brazil. Color me unimpressed. But there is one funny sentence in this study, quote, "No difference was observed in any of the tested parameters in correlation with cell phone monthly usage in minutes. So cell phones cause it, but it doesn't matter how much you use them? This should be a clear indication that something is wrong with this study."
Now, this increase in inflammation isn't necessarily from the cell phone radiation.
You don't say.
But may just be from the heat.
Do you have any idea how many sources of heat we're exposed to that have nothing to do with the radiation? Heck, the heat from the phone's battery would be greater, and the heat from the sun beaming through your car window would be far in excess of either of those. This is just reaching. The only way heat could cause destruction to cells is by cooking them. Not only would you have to get them way hotter than any cell phone gets, you'd feel it long before that happens, and have burns on your skin before you have any damage internally.
This is the first systematic review ever published to evaluate that, and
it specifically warns not to draw any radical conclusions because there are very few studies available and they aren't that well designed. Jeez Louise, did you not even read the abstract? I'll say exactly what I've said about homeopathy and other crap. It doesn't matter how many studies you can cook up that appear to support your bogosity. If you don't have a mechanism of action, you have nothing. And since what you're saying violates basic physics, and you've done nothing to try and counter that, or even show you understand that, you really have less than nothing.
if you want to reduce your risk, though, both the heat and cell phone emissions are largely a local phenomenon. So you can use a speakerphone or headset to reduce exposure, or you can do more texting.
Or you can just stop listening to idiots like this guy.
Basically, until we know more, the adoption of such precautions is not unreasonable.
Yes, it is. This is one more idiot advocating for the strong precautionary principle. Hey, if you enjoyed this video, why not hit like and subscribe? And to make sure I can keep producing content, support this channel by becoming a patron. And check out all the other great content here, like this video selected especially for you.